I've been having a bit of a clear out, and my workspace is very messy because I've been having a bit of a clear out. So I'm sorry if there's stuff in the way when you're looking at what I'm doing. But anyway, one of the things I've been doing during my clear out is finding old projects and trying to decide what to do with them. So maybe I can use them again. Maybe I can recycle the parts. Maybe I can give them to somebody else. Maybe, sadly, they just need to be disposed of. And one of the things I've found is this old RepRap Mendel printer. And when I say old, it's 2014. I built it myself. I designed some of it. That was the whole point of that project, that you modified and made these things your own. And in 2016, I moved on and started using Prusa printers when the launch of the Prusa Mark II, which is fantastic. So anyway, here it is, and I haven't used it for at least 5 or 6 years. It's been covered up, sealed up with a bag to stop the dust getting in. It's been hidden away behind other stuff on a shelf, and I suddenly thought I really need to do something with this. So I'm going to take a look now and see if it's possible for me to get it working again and decide what to do with it. So let's take a look. Right, so here's the printer. It's a RepRap printer, which means it's made of metal parts like screw threaded rods, plastic parts that are printed, and some electronics. And the idea was that it was biomimetic. It could reproduce itself. It was like an organism up to a point, and would evolve. And indeed, these things have evolved. So what's here? We've got a spatula for removing the prints. There's a USB cable because you have to plug these into a computer or something else to feed the G-code into it. I think these plastic pieces are my homemade spool stand. And then here's the build plate, and I can't remember the name of the special material I bought to go on this, but it's very good. And then the actual underneath support, I'd forgotten this, is made of clear perspex or polycarbonate. And obviously there are adjusting screws, which all have to be done manually. And then it has, to control it, something called a smoothie board, which I vaguely remember. I do remember programming it. And that was a step up in a way from the very basic electronics PCBs that came to power a lot of these things. And obviously there are stepper motors, and there are parts I've made and designed myself, like the power supply housing. And I remember now that I put the motors at the bottom of the travel. Now, I know I'm not the only person who ever did that. It's not an original idea by any means, but it suddenly occurred to me when I made it that this was a better idea than hanging the rods off the motors at the top, which can tend to cause some trouble. I started doing this sort of thing in 2012 when it was still a fairly new idea, and trying to figure out how to do it all. So there's a quick look at it, and here's the extruder body and gearing I designed and made myself as well. And it runs on 3mm filament, and there's still some in it. And I have a collection of that, and I've no idea if it's still usable. It has been sealed up, but it will be interesting to try. But at the moment, I can't remember anything about how to use this printer. I need to look up my notes, look up my software, see if I can plug it into a computer, find some software to control it and power it. There's no screen or anything like that, and see if I can get it going, and then I can decide what to do with it. So once I've had a bit of a sort out, found a computer, tried to plug it all in, I'll come back and we'll take a closer look. From about 2010 onwards, there was a lot of interest in the RepRap project, an open source movement for self-replicating 3D printers started by Adrian Bowyer. Lots of machines were built on a frame with two triangles forming the ends. This makes it very stable, but does limit the print height. This is one of my home builds. I printed the parts on an earlier version and used up scraps of filament to make colour accents on some parts. To control the X, Y and Z motors, the heated bed and extruder, I used a smoothie board, a 32-bit open source controller intended to improve on previous controllers. I used a perspex platform to support the heated bed with corner adjusters and locking screws. I bought some high quality stepper motors and mounted them at the bottom of the travel. I also doubled up on the pulleys and bearings and also printed my own version of an extruder mounting to make tension adjustable and to direct a fan onto the print. It was a fascinating and highly educational process, but I eventually moved on to using Prusa printers with their steel frames and very consistent quality. There was a huge improvement in design and quality of parts in those first few years, leading to the very usable commercial printers that we have now. So, having taken a look, let's get back to reviving this rediscovered printer. I've connected the printer with a USB cable to the PC, and I've found this software I used to use called RepRap Host, which I remember being very good. I think this is perhaps an older version, but I've left it, so I don't want to take any chances. So that's all connected. I've found the parameters and checked them, and I've gone over to manual control. So if I move one of the axes, there goes the x-axis, and if I press home, it should return home. And similarly, the y-axis comes forward, and then again home. And I'm going to put the Z up a bit, or Z as we say in the UK, because that has some filament stuck on the bottom of it and I don't want it to push the bed down. So I'm very happy with that. It's all working. I'm now going to heat the bed. Here it goes. That's going to heat up to 65 degrees, which I hope will be right for a PLA print. And in a moment I shall return, plug in my USB stick, and hopefully have ready a print which we can test on this printer which I've rediscovered. I've found a suitable file ready in the right format for this printer and for RepRap Host. So I'm now going to load it. It's a counting circle, so that's just a small circular container for popping components in while I count them. And now we can see the visualization of it there. And I'm going to now go back to manual control, and I'm just going to turn on the extruder. So that's heating up. The bed should already be heating. And before I try the print, I'm just going to check the bed leveling, and as you can see, I've found some shiny red 3mm or 2.85mm, it really is, filament, which was brand new in a sealed up packet, so that should be okay. Looking now at a quick check, I have already been over this before, but I'm just going to make absolutely sure. I've moved the print head into the center of the plate. The extruder's up to temperature and ready to extrude. So now I'm going to home the extruder. I have a piece of paper under it, and I'm going to keep that moving, and I'm hoping it'll just grab onto the paper. I'm going to settle down, and there we are. It's just grabbing it, maybe a little bit tight, but it seems fine. So if it was any tighter, it wouldn't let any extrusion through, and if it was any looser, it would be a big mess. So what you also have to do with this is check each corner manually in a certain order, just to make sure, but that's a very time consuming thing to show on camera. So it's a bit different to how printers are now, where generally they have bed sensors and leveling and sort it all out themselves. You have to get this right and then hopefully get a good print. So now I'm going to take that one off, and in a moment I'll start the print. Everything's ready, and just try and get any excess filament off the extruder. Just burnt my finger, and we'll start the print. Here we go. Here we go. It's going to home itself down to the bed and then move around a bit to make sure the filament is flowing, and then go to the center of the bed hopefully and start the print. Here we go. It's just checking the temperature. Well, it's got to lift the temperature of the extruder up another 10 degrees, so I'll just cut the video and jump in again in a moment. And here we go. That's it. Let's do the run out, get the extruder working, properly settled. I can see the line starting now and coming back the other way. Here we go. Very exciting when you see this for the first time. Here we go. It's a circle around the print. Now the print itself starts, and we'll just watch the start and then we'll jump on to the end. So I think it's going to do 3 perimeters. I think it's at 60 millimeters per second. It's a decent speed. And now we're going to start doing the first layer infill, which is slower to make sure it's really smooth and good looking. And I'll jump in again at the end of that to look at the first layer. We've finished the first layer and now the printer's printing the second layer, and it's now going much faster because the first layer's established. And we'll come back in a minute and see when it starts building the walls. Here we can see what's printing on the screen. So it's doing the solid infill on top, and you can gradually see that moving across on the software. So here's some infill, much more widely spaced, and then the printer will print some solid layers again on top of that in a moment. Okay, so it's just coming to the end of the top layer now. Let's see, are we going to build the walls? Here we go. Ooh, quite fast. One mistake I've made in this design was to leave the seam in the same place, so we're going to get a line up the side of the print, but I could adjust that in the software next time I print it. So here it goes, it's building the walls. There's a few minutes left, and then I'll jump back into the video when it's nearly finished. So the print's finished. I've pulled the bed forward, and one of the great things about this print bite surface is that you can just reach in once it's cooled down and lift the object off. No strain, no sticking, nothing at all. It's absolutely amazing. And this is a pretty good print, I think, for an ancient homemade printer. So let's take a closer look at that too. I'm really pleased with my rediscovered RepRap Mendel printer, and his my first print for several years, and I'm really pleased with it. It has a smooth first layer both inside and out, and you can see it has a smooth sides as well. It's not as good as a modern day printer, but it's still pretty good. These are 0.3mm layers, so they're quite obvious. And I'm very pleased with it, so I think I might use it a bit more before I finally decide what to do with it. I have a huge stock of 3mm filament, or 2.85mm as it really is, but it's been well looked after. It's been all sealed in plastic bags and in a plastic box, and it should be okay. I'm sorry about this noise. I've got another one of these printing here. They're very useful actually, and I'm hoping I might make some quite large prints and use up some of this filament, and it's encouraged me to look again at more of my projects and see what I need to do with them, because I definitely need to clear some out, but some may be useful, you never know. And I'll be back soon with more videos about technology, electronics and amateur radio. So see you soon, and thanks for watching.